أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله.
The distinctive sound of the Malvi calling the faithful to prayer. Pakistan is an Islamic state, a country still struggling to find its identity, some 40 years since independence. The Salvation Army has been at work in this area of South Asia for over 100 years, and as one of the 5 major denominations making up the 3% Christian population of the country, it is dedicated to serving the poor and those in need, irrespective of their race or religion. A movement pledged to do all within its power to help the people of Pakistan develop and learn the skills that will enable them to face the future.
One of the major projects that we have in Pakistan in recent days is the Basic Health Unit. We have 12 of these in various parts of the country, and they are in key centers where we have a staff nurse and sometimes a doctor employed. And this is a basic unit where clinical care is given, but we have moved from just a health unit where we service people and treat them when they have physical needs into a very positive primary health care program. And from each of these units, we have developed an outreach to the villages.
We come to 5 different villages, and Eason is the village that we're in today. It's about 40 kilometres from Lahore. We come with our team on a weekly basis, and we provide the services to this village. There are no other doctors or family planning units or any health facilities at all in this village, so our weekly visit is the only attention that they get. We work in conjunction with the government EPI programme, which means Extended Programme of Immunisation. We get our vaccines from the government. We keep their records plus our own records, and then each child under 5 is immunised for polio, diphtheria, whooping cough, tetanus and measles. And when they've had all those injections, they're said to be fully immunised. And we do have some post-polio cases here, and the rural rehabilitation technician works with us. She was trained in Lahore and works there 3 days a week, but also comes out with us to the villages and carries on the program of teaching mothers how to prevent contractions which occur after polio, and how to stimulate their muscles back into use with hot water and exercises. A lot of the diseases are from malnutrition or poor feeding or inadequate or wrong feeding, and so we try also to teach the correct way to feed a child. So our under 5s clinic, which we also hold on a weekly basis, is conducted by our village health worker, who's a lady who lives in the village and looks after when our own team are not visiting, and she shows them, teaches them how to cook a balanced diet and how to feed the children, because a lot of the belief is, of course, that until they get teeth, and that means that after they're a year old, they don't give them anything other than milk, and so we're teaching them through actually doing and feeding the child that they can start weaning so much earlier. Antenatal care is a very important part of our program. There are no facilities here. All women are delivered by the traditional birth attendants, who we also teach. And they do the births here in the village, and so it's important for us to make sure that the women are ready for such a delivery. And so we would antenatally check them to make sure that the baby and the mother are well. We also have a sanitation program. They have no normal facilities as we know them in the West. The children and families all come to the fields for their daily purposes, and the drains, they're complete open drains, and so all open sewage is running through the village. And we have installed 8 VIP pit latrines, ventilated, improved pit latrines. Families who have desired and have done their own part in building these pit latrines, in digging their own hole, and we have helped towards the construction, and they've managed to be VIP, own their own latrine, which is quite an accomplishment. By building pit latrines, we are at least providing some form of prevention from diseases which are spread through fecal contamination. Family planning is a very important part of any program, especially in the village area where the child population is bigger than anywhere else. It's not a subject that's too well accepted, but we find that one of our teaching methods is drama. They love drama here, and it is a way of getting the message over. And so we use a lot of drama, and particularly for teaching family planning and the implications of family planning and how it can benefit them and their family life.
One of the major emphasis in the Salvation Army in Pakistan at the present time is overall training of our officers and of our local officers, and also the staff on our various institutions and projects. And we have, in the last couple of years, established a leadership training center here at Territorial Headquarters. And officers at all levels of the Army expression here have enrolled in leadership training certificate courses. And this is done on the very modern methods, and we feel that this is an investment to help particularly the officers from Pakistan to learn all of the skills of management and leadership training. It is our desire within the next few years to have every project and every institution totally under the leadership of Pakistani officers.
Those of you who are in dispensary, leave the word dispensary as it is.
At the moment there's a social seminar being conducted. This particular month they are concentrating mainly on the book work, the accounting work that is essential in our basic health units and in our institutions. Apart from the teach-in seminars, probably the most important part of the centre is the self-study program. We are required to read at least 5 of these leadership books which are biblically based, and on those we are expected to put in a report, not only saying what the book said, but how we're going to apply that in our own leadership. Apart from the books, we have these beautiful cassettes which are just excellent. The Leadership Wisdom, which helps us very much to get to know ourselves and to appreciate our own way of reacting to people. In our army we have tremendous resources, but in many ways, following our training as cadets, we fail to develop. And the purpose of this centre is that we will have these resources available that will help us to continually develop, not just out of college, but right through our officership.
The territory is typical in that it has a training college here in Lahore, and we have a number of cadets in both the first and second year training. Our emphasis is in training, and we are doing everything we can to prepare these young people for taking responsibility of our corps throughout the various parts of the country. Now, the corps in this territory are primarily in the villages, and the buildings sometimes are in very poor condition, but in the last couple of years we have had a very special emphasis to try and improve some of the core buildings. We have been able to build this year 6 new halls and 6 new quarters for officers. Many people in the villages really do the very best they can, and they build a mud-type building as best they are able to. Sometimes we are able to give them help. Sometimes they'll get it up to the roof and we'll put the roof on for them. But in some of our larger core and in some of the key places, we are now beginning to build a more established building. Often these corps will have a number of outposts, and a number of other villages are served by the same officer, and he will visit these villages where they do not have a hall, and he will meet in one home one week and in another home another week. And in this way, it's really like a series of home churches. You'll find a typical core activity. Women's work is very prominent in what they do.
Now, a part of your Home League program each week, I'm sure, is looking to the God's Word, and we're going to turn just now to God's Word, and it's a story taken from John's Gospel.
The exciting thing to me about home leagues in Pakistan is the fact that they're so young, the age group is so young. And we start from about 17 upwards, and in our home leagues there are very many young adults, children, and of course the grandmas very often. This means that we, in all our corps, have quite a bright and enthusiastic crowd of home leagues. They love rallies, they love anything special. And at our corps at Harbanspura, which soon is to have a new hall, but we at the moment have no real hall there, but they come in their numbers. And at Jallo also, which is another meeting under the sky, but enjoy their home leagues very much indeed. Because of the youth within our home league, we're very aware of the fact that a lot of the children who come to home league are not as well as they should be. We have started a program which is a pilot scheme for this part of the world, and it's the GOBI program, standing for growth, oral rehydration, breastfeeding and immunization. 40,000 children die every day throughout the world, but of these 1,700 die in Pakistan, and mainly through dehydration. The sad thing about life in Pakistan is not the poverty, but the lack of knowledge. And this is what we feel through the rate of the arterial system of the Home League. We can get out to the villages. During this year, we have trained 56 of our workers, officers who have one helper within the village with them. And at the end of the Home League each week, they do a half-hour stint of teaching of health methods, of hygiene, of solid feeding, and then once a month they weigh the babies in order to see whether or not there has been growth.
Joyland is a place that we started nearly 12 years ago now, and we have here 50 children. Children who come from many different kinds of backgrounds, but all of them have either lost both parents or one parent. Those that have only got one parent have a father who can't look after them, doesn't know how, or a mother who just can't afford to keep them. Some we've got who come from desperately, desperately poor circumstances. It's hard to believe how they ever existed. Shaukat came to us nearly 2 years ago. He was 3 years old, he weighed 16 pounds, and he was just a tiny little scrap. His father had died, his mother had run off and left him and his brother and sister, and his uncle looked after him. Not long after that, the whole village burnt down, and poor Shaukat, he just withdrew within himself. And when he came here, he wasn't saying anything. He brought a chit with him from the hospital saying that he was deaf and dumb. He wasn't here long when we realised he was not deaf or dumb. He started to eat. He ate as if he was a bottomless pit. He just ate and ate and ate. And he gradually discovered that people loved him and that he was secure. And then the talking started. And he's just a normal child now. He's one of the real little highlights of this place. About a year ago, his brother and sister, older brother and sister, came to stay with us as well. And so the family of children is complete now. Yeah. Nasreen came when she was 3 years old. Nasreen was very, very undernourished. She does not have a father. Since she's been here, her mother has also died. So she's a complete orphan. Her hair was a very pale brown colour, which is a sign of undernourishment. Her stomach was very, very big. In fact, her little dresses looked like she was wearing a tent because she was so big in the tummy. Her skin was all scaling off. But Nasreen fitted in from day one. She never gave us 1 minute of trouble. She just loved being here. She loved being loved. She loved having other children to play with. And it wasn't long before Nasreen began to lose the brown hair, black hair started coming, and she started to lose her big tummy. And now, as you can see, she's a beautiful girl. She's a good Christian girl. And we can see that Nasreen will grow into a beautiful woman. Every evening we have prayers here, and the children take their turn in taking part in prayers. It's a very important part of the day, and the children are learning the importance of prayer. Quite a number of the older girls are now senior soldiers, and a good group of the younger ones too are junior soldiers. Made decisions, and it's been beautiful to see their spiritual development over the time that we've had them here.
One of the projects that we're involved in right now is adult literacy. On surveys that have been undertaken, we've discovered that there's an 80% illiteracy rate in rural areas, and we mainly have an emphasis on women because schooling facilities are not so available to them. And so the stipulation is that any girl over the age of 12 can become enrolled in any literacy class wherever they operate. And today we have 40 literacy classes in the territory. I believe to date that we have had 1,300 students who have graduated, and currently there are 689 students at present enrolled. They are taught basic reading and writing and follow a primer which will take them from the government first grade to 5th grade of school. And this they can achieve in a year. As we have gone about this, we have seen that it's been the right thing to do. And also it's in keeping with the government policy now, where there is a mass campaign to make the country literate. In Pakistan we have several hostels which cater for both boys and girls. What we have seen happen over these last 10-12 years is an emphasis to move away from expatriate people being in charge and moving towards national personnel taking over the superintendency of these centres. The first superintendent of of its kind has been in the person of Captain Zarina, who has been an officer since 1974. 4.5 years ago, Captain Zarina was appointed to a present appointment as superintendent of a girls' hostel. She's looking after 50 girls at present, who range in age from 6 to 18, and they have a very full programme catering for their spiritual and physical needs. It's not been a common thing in the past for us to have single officers, either male or female, and Captain Zarina, along with another officer, are our first 2 single officers, I would say, who have accomplished 14 years active service, but both have considered what this will mean to them, but they have just given themselves in dedication and commitment to the task that they believe that God has called them to. And it's been interesting to see how they have responded to the teaching that has been given faithfully, and to see how they are searching for more in ways which will help them be better leaders for the future of the Salvation Army in Pakistan.
The Salvation Army started with the Afghan refugee work in 1982 on the request by of the Pakistan government. We commenced the work in Ghazi. It was only on a very small scale in the beginning. Later on, the work expanded, also on request of the Pakistan government, and we started operations from Haripur as well. We have, in our medical work, we have some major activities like the curative health services, which operate from our basic health units. In those clinics, in those basic health units, the patients come for their treatment of their diseases. Then we have our preventive work, preventive health work, which consists of antenatal clinics. We have vaccination activities. We have a well baby under 5s clinic. Our staff performs home visits. And of course, the health education is a very important part of this preventive health work. Then we have our public health work, which is mainly performed by our community health workers. They go out in the camps, they visit the schools, tell the children about prevention of diseases and about hygiene especially. They go out to the shops and tell the shopkeepers about hygiene and about keeping their shops clean and their food clean which they're selling. All our vocational activities started from the medical work. And that has a reason, because we found that many of the men in the camps were not doing much, and they were sitting around, and from many incidents we saw that people developed psychosomatic diseases. So we thought it was better to keep them occupied. We have a leatherwork center where they make leather products. And then for the ladies, we have some embroidery activities, which is done with the ladies in their houses. We especially invite those Afghans, young Afghans, male Afghans, who are underprivileged, like the very poor, the ones who lost their parents or their father during the war in Afghanistan, and also the ones who are handicapped because of war activities. And we try to teach them a skill like tailor or welder or carpenter. It has been questioned whether the Salvation Army should be involved in this Afghan refugee project. Of course, this is a very political situation where we are working in. But we try not to look to the political side of it. We only see that there are people who are victims of a situation. We see people who are in need. And I think our motivation is very much the love of God.
The Rural Rehabilitation Centre in Lahore was opened about a year ago, and it was felt there was a great need to help the physically handicapped in the village areas. Now, we do feature children mainly, because we hope that in helping a child at an early age, we can then get them to go to school and then grow up to be a normal adult. Our centre is very basic. We do not pretend to be sophisticated. The idea is that whatever treatments are carried out in the centre will be carried out in the villages. We train girls to this end, and we think we're making a pioneer sort of step into helping the handicapped in the rural areas. The girls have to learn what is normal, then they have to learn what can happen to them with disease, and then they learn what to do with that and how to help rehabilitate the child. The dolls look very funny. It's very difficult to get girls that are used to learning facts to get them into the 3D perspective. And the only way that I dreamt up was to make their own Raggedy Ann dolls and sew their muscles on. They can learn to move them in the different directions the muscles work, so therefore it's a good learning experience. The doll belongs to the girl. She takes it wherever she goes to work with afterwards, and it's a continuing teaching tool. The two ladies in the kitchen are relatives of the children that are staying there. The mothers start to make the food, they bath the children, and there's a very happy atmosphere. In the West, one doesn't see much tuberculosis in joints because we have pasteurized milk. But in Pakistan, people still drink milk straight from the cow that's not tuberculin tested, and therefore we have a lot of TB of the bone. Sohail has had TB in both hip joints, and when we first saw him 6 months ago, his hips were locked together, solid like concrete. We were told by the hospitals that nothing could be done for him, that was just the way it was. But we always try to do our best, and we've been slowly shaking the joints, his hip joint and his knee joints, to straighten them out. Cerebral palsy is a real problem because in many cases we cannot do a lot to help that child be completely independent. Zobia is a classical case. She has learned to read and write at home. She can try and do some sewing work, but she will never be free to do things by herself. She comes regularly for treatment to our centre, and the girls learn a lot from working with Zobia. She is a lovely girl and gives of herself in the training. Mukhtar is on a traction now following surgery for her contractures. The traction is very basic. You wouldn't find that in many other places, but it's enough to achieve the goals that are required, and we will use whatever we can, whatever will be available in the village to achieve the same purpose. Fatima is an example of some ladies that have got rheumatoid arthritis. Life here is very difficult for ladies. They don't have the supermarkets they can go to buy things. Their housework is hard work, and somebody with rheumatoid arthritis has got a very difficult problem. We use sand, we use hot water bottles, whatever we can to help give heat, which is an important part of the treatment. And in her own home, she can also apply hot sand or hot water, or her family can massage with warm oil. Sajida, a little girl here with polio, both legs badly affected when she was 6 months old. She has never walked. Today she has come to get her braces and stand on her feet for the first time. Now for us at the centre, this is an exciting day. For the mother and the father and the child, it's a day of apprehension. They've got no idea what's going to happen. The child has not stood up on her own before. So as you see, the look on her face is a mixture of anticipation, fear, and yet the expectation that something new is going to happen today. There is a certain amount of sacrifice on the mission field. For me, it's my family and friends so far away. But the fulfillment that comes out of helping these people and doing what you know to be the will of God is one of the most fulfilling experiences that you could ever have. It's something that money could never buy, and something you can't really express to somebody else. But the joy of seeing somebody like Sajida walk is all that matters.